Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, here with some post-fight comments on Saul Alvarez's knockout of Kermit Cintron. Now, let me just say, this fight surprised me. I fully expected 5-1 underdog Kermit Cintron to beat Canelo. I actually thought privately that Cintron had a chance at the knockout. I know the suggested straddle play you did okay on because we had Cintron by KO as a straddle. But let me just say, the fight surprised me so much. I'm making this post-fight video in part to talk with subscribers, in part to really talk with myself, to have notes that I can refer to for future fights. Let me just say this. Canelo hits much harder than I thought. I considered him to be a puncher masquerading as a boxer, but as a puncher, he hits much harder than I realized. When he hits Cintron with a right hand to the temple, Cintron's legs are gone the rest of the fight. In fact, it's deep. Cintron's coordination is gone the rest of the fight. Cintron is never the same, right? Cintron's a puncher himself, but yet it was clear that the puncher in this fight was Saul Alvarez. You know, all I can say is, wow, he hits hard. Boxing has a few outsized punchers. We need to back away from the Canelo image and realize that this guy hits hard. I'm talking about Vladimir Klitschko type hard. You know, when the guy hits you, especially with either a left hook, and I still believe the left hook's his best punch, with either a left hook or a straight right hand, you're badly hurt. He is a premier puncher. Let me also say, too, what I was expecting and what I got. I was expecting Kermit Cintron to fight a bit off his back foot. I thought that Cintron would keep Alvarez busy with a left jab. If you look at the CompuBox numbers for both going into the fight, you'll see that Cintron actually threw more volume. Right? Now, keep in mind, since Alvarez fights out of an orthodox stance and isn't fighting out of a southpaw stance, there's no reason why Cintron shouldn't have been able to have pumped the jab, right? Saul Alvarez, because his straight right is that devastating. In fact, it's a counter right hand. Because it's that devastating, I thought that Cintron would want to have his left extended most of the time, right, through a jab, through throwing straight lefts, so that Alvarez would have to come over the left hand to hit him. And because there was a height dynamic in this fight, right, Cintron's a little bit taller than Alvarez, I thought Alvarez would have a very hard time getting that right hand over Cintron's left. I also thought that Cintron knew how to use length and could fight on his back foot, could fight backing up, right? And so he would make it tough for the shorter Alvarez to ever land that right hand. That didn't happen. I don't know whether it's because Cintron has changed his style a little bit since he's come back after a long layoff. I don't know what the reason is, but Cintron didn't seem to me to be the same fighter that he was when he beat Alfredo Angulo. He was too stationary. He didn't throw the jab enough. Keep in mind, when you're throwing a jab, it's not just to land the jab, right? It's also for defensive purposes to keep the guy who you're jabbing from throwing certain punches, right? You're throwing the jab to maintain distance, right? To have a punch up so that the other guy has to get around the jab and throwing his right hand if he's orthodox. And I was a little bit surprised that Cintron didn't really do that. And it was striking because Alvarez was able to shorten the distance between the two punches, between the two boxers, where he was able to then start landing body punches. And let me just tell you, if you see the fight again, watch it a second time, those body punches are devastating. I think they're the most meaningful part of the fight. I think after Canelo, hits Cintron and takes away Cintron's coordination, he then comes inside, is able to come inside. He's a counter puncher, Canelo, right? Canelo's able to come inside and then land some brutal body punches that, maybe Cintron kept a straight face when hit with those body punches, but don't kid yourself. Those body punches changed the fight because when Canelo comes in later, Cintron is literally backing up, trying to cover his body, completely deflated. It was a very impressive performance. I mean, very impressive performance by Saul Alvarez. I have to say that as I watched the fight, I was thinking to myself, wow, I didn't know he hit this hard. I didn't know he was this good. Very impressive. I tip my hat to Alvarez. Truly a tremendous puncher. And also a guy who thinks it through. In other words, he hurts you. He comes in. He's not just headhunting. He's not trying to empty the gun like Angulo tried to against Kirkland in that first round when Angulo got Kirkland down. Rather, Canelo, after he hurts you and gets inside, is literally trying to take out your body. He's trying to bank his advantage so that later you're worn out. You feel those body punches. Now, let me just say this too. Let me disagree with HBO on a few things, in particular Max Kellerman. I think Kellerman does a great job. But after the fight, Saul Alvarez, they asked him who he wanted. And he said, I want Mayweather. Now, let me just say, I say good for him. He's an unbeaten fighter right now. Unbeaten. Not only that, quite frankly, he hits much harder than Mayweather or Pacquiao, right? Keep in mind, he's at 154, and he's an outsized puncher at 154. In other words, he not only weighs more than Pacquiao and Mayweather, who are, sharing different portions of the belt at 147. No, this guy's one division up, and he hits harder than I think any other 154 in the world. I would argue that Canelo hits harder than Miguel Cotto, right? I think Canelo hits harder than Antonio Margarito. Canelo, to me, has that elusive one-punch KO capability. And so my point is simply this. Every fight Canelo is in at 154, he has a chance at a knockout. Let me also make another point. Because Canelo is big for 154, not tall, but thick, right? Roy Jones thought, and Roy Jones was speculating, that Canelo weighed 170 for the fight. Since Canelo's body is physically big, he's a thick guy, he should not agree to any kind of weight restrictions in the fight, right? He should not say, I'll fight you at 150. He shouldn't even say, like Margarito has said in the Cotto fight, I'll fight you at 153. He should say, look, whether it's Mayweather or Pacquiao, both of you guys purport to have had the belt at 154. People forget Mayweather beat Oscar De La Hoya when Oscar had the belt at 154. And let me just point out that was a very remarkable fight because Oscar had no weight restrictions on him. And Mayweather came in at 150 and took the title. Truly one of the best performances in recent memory. But Mayweather had the belt at 154. Pacquiao, by virtue of beating Antonio Margarito in a fight fought at 150, when Margarito had fought only Roberto Garcia following the loss of his 147 title, Shane Mosley, Pacquiao was awarded the 154-pound crown. So if I'm Canelo and if I'm the people behind Canelo, Golden Boy, his promotional group, and his management, if I were them, I would say, look, no. Our guy's a young lion. He has the belt at 154. If you want his belt, then come take it at his weight, right? Because quite frankly, I don't believe that a big guy should give away his comparative advantage by losing weight to suit any opponent, right? And Canelo, one of his strengths is his size. He's big, he's sturdy, he's robust, he hits hard for the weight. Now, I don't think Canelo beats Floyd. I think that's an easy fight for Floyd. I think, unlike Cintron, Floyd would realize that he has to neutralize two punches, the left hook and the straight right hand. And I think Canelo would have a very hard time landing that right hand over Floyd's shoulder. But, be that as it may, let me just say that it's a huge payday. It would be a battle of unbeatens. Floyd has booked Cinco de Mayo weekend in Las Vegas, right? And Canelo knows, Floyd knows, that if Canelo hits Floyd flush, who knows? Maybe Floyd will end up like Kermit Cintron, disoriented, uncoordinated, unable to defend himself, unwilling, quite frankly, to continue the fight. I thought at the end of the fight, the stoppage looked a tad premature to me, but then I saw the way Cintron slumped into the referee's arms and I realized this guy didn't want to continue. This guy had been hit with shots so hard, he was discouraged from fighting. We'll just put it that way. Here's what I didn't see with Canelo. And as I said, these videos in part are notes to myself as well. What I didn't see with Canelo were more punches other than the left hook, which got blocked most of the time by Cintron, and the right hand and the body punches, right? In other words, I didn't see Canelo drop his shoulder and throw an Antonio Margarito uppercut, right? I didn't see Canelo really showing great foot movement coming forward. He's not that fast of foot. If he's fighting a Manny Pacquiao would be able to stay outside of him. If he's fighting a guy, Paul Williams, who fights the fight, and I'm not sure if Paul Williams can do this anymore, but if Paul Williams were to fight the fight that he fought against Antonio Margarito, let's remember Williams beat Margarito, right, by staying outside. If he fights the fight that he fought against Margarito, who cuts off the ring much better than Canelo, if it's a high volume fight where Williams, with a superior reach and height, is using a jab to maintain distance from Canelo, I think he beats Canelo, right? Because Canelo, to me, doesn't have those quick moves to get inside. In other words, he got to Cintron's body after throwing bombs from the outside. This is literally Vladimir Klitschko type fighting. I believe that Canelo is Vladimir Klitschko as a 154-pounder. And the knock I see with the Vladimir Klitschko is he's living behind a jab. And then that fight style doesn't allow him to do what Joe Frazier. He can't just jump inside and take out a guy's body. He has to work his way in. That's Saul Alvarez. And while Saul Alvarez showed some countering skills and counterpunching skills in this fight, I didn't see the blinding hand speed. I didn't see the combinations. Right? Alvarez is not a combination puncher. He's a power puncher. Right? Also, I didn't see the lateral movement. He's not a guy who comes in at angles, right? He's not bouncing side to side. Rather, he's a guy with a huge punch who just comes in on you and starts throwing bombs, right? While he does dance a little bit, I didn't think it was effective movement. I didn't think it was the kind of movement where he's setting things up to jump inside like Giovanni Segura does at a lighter weight. So Alvarez is 21. He's a work in progress. The one thing I can say is he's already on my private list of the hardest punchers pound for pound in the sport. And I hope the next time I see him in the ring, it is against Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao, because I think those would be riveting fights. I'm more intrigued by him against Floyd Mayweather simply because he has the power and the offense to make that fight very entertaining. Let's hope that fight happens. I tip my hat to Saul Alvarez. I was expecting Alvarez to lose yesterday, and he surprised me big time with very major punching power against the puncher, against a guy who had been in the ring with Paul Williams, with Sergio Martinez, with Antonio Margarito, with Alfredo Angulo. Cintron, a very accomplished boxer, simply couldn't deal with Saul Alvarez's power. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.